His divine sense radiated the final spreading of life, expanding towards the soul-refining sect. It was at that moment he saw someone, who had fled here from afar, blending into the crowd of those wishing to enter the sect's gates. This person appeared quite ordinary. The instant Nian Tian's divine sense touched him, unimaginable ripples spread out. He was shocked and horrified to realize that this person was the very scholar he had once asked about hundreds of years ago. With confusion and an unnameable guess, his divine sense dispersed, and his nascent soul became the soul of the 10,000 flags. Wang Lin was sent back to Zhao Kingdom's county town, standing by the large tree outside the examination site. Before him, DeFu still slept, and everything that had happened seemed like a dream. Karma. I think I understand now. Wang Lin gazed at the sky and once again saw the white flying bird. It circled and slowly disappeared into the clouds. He woke DeFu, and in the blurry-eyed DeFu's days, the two returned to the inn. The full moon hung high in the sky, casting long shadows of their figures on the earth. The county exam, in a few days, would announce the list. On this awaited day, the anxious scholars waited. Those who made the list would gain the title of Xiu Kai, Talent Scholar. This title would qualify them to participate in the Sioux City Imperial examination. With this qualification, they had a chance to soar to greater heights. Once they became a Sioux scholar, they could go to the capital of Zhao Kingdom and face the final trial. If they were exceptionally talented and caught the eye of the renowned scholar Su Dao from Sioux City, they would become famous nationwide. If they could become Su Dao's disciple, the glory would be beyond measure. This was the coveted dream of scholars across Zhao Kingdom. In the entire county town, fewer than 50 scholars would earn the title of Xiu Kai, and though Wang Lin wasn't at the top of the list, he was among those few. When he saw his name, Wang Lin didn't feel excited. He simply glanced at it, and, with DeFu, who was even more delighted than him, they headed to the county magistrate's office to confirm their identities, receive their certificates of Xiu Kai, and the reward silver from the court before leaving the area. What excited DeFu wasn't Wang Lin's title, but the silver. In just over a month, what had transpired had subtly changed Wang Lin, or perhaps he was always meant to be this way. The nightly dreams still lingered, but Wang Lin had gradually grown accustomed to them. His mindset had shifted. He no longer held on to thoughts of gain or loss, nor the early uncertainty about falling short. Gain or loss, it made no difference. Nothing truly mattered. Only by maintaining one's true self could the heart remain as calm as still water, as unperturbed as an ancient well. Like the Taoist idea of seeing a mountain as a mountain, then not seeing it as a mountain, and then seeing it as a mountain again, Wang Lin, in this short month, had unknowingly changed in so many ways. The air of a great scholar gradually emerged from him, and even among countless students, his straight posture and calm gaze stood out like a bright pearl, aloof and independent. Life is like a dream, and in this dream, I do not wish to wake up. Wang Lin, with DeFu following behind, carrying the bamboo bookcase, left the county town where a few dozen scholars were celebrating their success, while many others felt disheartened. He left as quietly as he had arrived, calm and unhurried. DeFu trailed behind Wang Lin, constantly counting the silver, mumbling occasionally with a pained expression. DeFu, go buy some wine. At the county gate, Wang Lin paused and looked at a nearby wine stall. Suddenly, he had a strong desire to drink, even though he had once been drunk after just 2 cups. We've hardly any silver left, and you still want to buy wine? DeFu rolled his eyes and shook his head vigorously, clutching his chest. What's a little silver compared to anything? Gold can be spent and earned again. Go buy the wine. Wang Lin smiled and pushed DeFu gently. DeFu sighed and, with great reluctance, went to the wine stall. After a long and baffling negotiation, complete with a bit of cheeky bargaining, the wine vendor finally sold 2 bottles of wine to DeFu at a very low price with a bitter smile. Even so, when DeFu handed over the silver, he winced, his face twisted with a mixture of pain, muttering to himself, "It's mine, it's mine." Wang Lin chuckled silently, took the wine, and had a large gulp. Letting the wine drip from the corner of his mouth, he laughed loudly and walked out of the county town, DeFu trailing behind with a pained look. It was noon, and under the blazing sun, The two walked farther and farther away. The air of loneliness and isolation around Wang Lin began to dissipate, replaced by a sense of free-spiritedness and indifference. "Master, where are we going?" came Defu's voice from a distance. "Su City. I've heard their osmanthus wine is quite good. I'm going there to wait for someone." Wang Lin took another sip of wine, casually letting his tied-up hair fall loose, and his laughter echoed around. Su City is located 500 miles south of the capital of Zhao Kingdom. It's a large city with several silver dragon creeks winding through it, giving Su City the charm of a water town. The city's name comes from Su Dao, but it also gathers nearly all the talented scholars of Zhao Kingdom. And where there are scholars, beautiful women are sure to follow. The silver dragon creeks are often graced with painted boats, where songs and dances fill the air day and night, creating a lively atmosphere. Scholars compose poetry, beautiful women dance, and the melodies of instruments float through the city, bathing Su City in a warm, crimson hue. Equally famous as the beauties are the many taverns selling osmanthus wine throughout the city. Su City's osmanthus wine is well known, and it's said that even the nobility in the capital often send people to buy it from here. The city's contemporary great scholar, Su Dao, was fond of this wine in his youth. He found enlightenment in the drink, which connected him to the vastness of the world. As his fame grew, the osmanthus wine became even more renowned. 2 months had passed in the blink of an eye. Wang Lin and Defu were riding in a humble cart on the official road to Su City, drinking wine they had bought along the way, occasionally interrupted by Wang Lin's drunken laughter. "Young master, don't drink anymore. You're scaring me. It's only been 2 months, just 2 months, and look how much you've drunk. We're almost out of money." Defu's voice, tinged with sorrow, echoed from the cart. "If you keep drinking like this, we won't even have money for a place to stay once we reach Su City," Defu continued, his nagging growing more frequent over the past 2 months. But instead of annoying Wang Lin, Defu's complaints had begun to feel oddly familiar and comforting. "It's fine. You're my study steward, right? If we run out of money, just go earn some," Wang Lin teased, laughing as he drank, looking at Defu's pained expression. As Defu continued to mutter, the sun began to set. The red light of the sunset filtered through the sky, soft and gentle, casting a warm glow. The cart slowly drew closer to Su City. Su City looked massive from afar, like a grand fortress, but its true nature was that of a graceful water town, reminiscent of Jiangnan's moonlit waters, filled with delicate charm. After paying for the carriage, Defu struggled, looking at the few remaining coins in his hand. He nearly burst into tears. Most of their expenses had gone on wine, entering Wang Lin's belly. Wang Lin's alcohol tolerance had unknowingly improved. He was no longer the person who would pass out after just 2 cups. After getting off the cart, Wang Lin adjusted his belongings. Dressed in white, he looked ethereal, his long hair flowing freely. Holding a wine jug in one hand, his scholarly demeanor had vanished, replaced by a carefree air. Walking down the streets of Su City, Wang Lin noticed the crowds. Many were scholars and students, with a number of beautifully dressed women adding charm to the city. Though Wang Lin's appearance was average, there was something about his presence that made him stand out. He walked down the street, attracting many curious gazes, including the admiring looks of several women. Wang Lin remained unfazed, sipping his wine as he continued walking. Defu followed behind, his face clouded with worry, as it had been for the past 2 months, sighing constantly. As the moonlight spread across Su City at dusk, the sounds of music from the painted boats on the creeks drifted over. Wang Lin stood on a bridge, gazing at the boat on the river, the zither music captivating, swirling around him. "Master, who are we waiting for?" Defu glanced at a few women dancing gracefully on a nearby boat and swallowed, his eyes shining. "I'm waiting for someone from my dreams. They'll come and bring me a jug of wine. If they do, it will confirm my guess," Wang Lin said quietly, his gaze calm. "Are we just going to wait here? Perhaps we should find a cheap inn first." Defu hesitated, looking at Wang Lin's now empty jug, speaking carefully, fearing that Wang Lin would send him to buy more wine. Wang Lin shook his head, a half-smile on his face as he glanced at Defu. "I remember we prepared plenty of money, especially the reward silver from the county office." "Did we? I forgot." Defu blinked, his expression awkward. Take out the money you've been hiding. Go buy some osmanthus wine for me, and rent a small painted boat. We'll stay on the boat for the next few days, Wang Lin said with a smile, turning away from Defu. A breeze blew, creating ripples on the river's surface. It brushed against Wang Lin, lifting his hair. The wind was soft, not cold, with a hint of warmth. Along with it came the sound of zither strings. Will you come? Wang Lin muttered softly. In June, Sioux City had passed the season of rebirth and entered a month of blossoming flowers in every shade imaginable, a time when the skies were filled with drifting willow catkins. It seemed as though they were carrying the last bit of their strength, ready to blow away the remaining moments of time. The willow catkins filled the air, appearing like snowflakes. This scene was beautiful, like summer snowflakes drifting through the sky. If the wind grew stronger, the catkins would swirl and dance even more densely, fluttering about like rootless lives. Beautiful, yet carrying an unspeakable sadness. They seemed to have no home, like travelers who had left their homeland, drifting with the wind, not knowing where fate would take them. Perhaps they would land on the river's surface, becoming part of the picturesque scene for passers-by. Or perhaps they would fall to the ground, blending with the dust, swirling into clumps that the wind would sweep across. Their fate was the wind. Different winds gave them different lives. One willow catkin, white and delicate, lightly danced in the air before landing on the palm of a young man in white, standing on the bow of a small painted boat. In his left hand, he held a wine jug, drinking deeply, reciting poems filled with heroic spirit. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried an aura of carefree defiance, as if he sought to trace the ends of the world. Behind him, a middle-aged man dressed as a study steward followed, his face marked with sorrow, clearly reluctant to part with the young man. Every time the young man took a drink, the steward seemed to feel an additional pang of heartache. A jug of osmanthus wine costs 7 coins. It's so expensive, really too expensive. Each sip is almost half a coin. The willow catkin that had landed in the young man's hand paused briefly, as if it had not reached its destination, and faintly sighed before fluttering away from his hand. It passed before his eyes, drifting aimlessly into the distance. It seemed as though it knew its end was near, flying toward the abyss of oblivion where it could find rest. Beside the riverbank, there was also a peach blossom grove. As the willow catkins fluttered in the air, the peach blossoms dotted the landscape, and the wind carried the petals into the river, where they floated gently, swaying with the current. Mad willow catkins dance with the wind. Frivolous peach blossoms follow the water's flow. Wang Lin downed the last of his wine and laughed, his voice echoing across the boat. On the painted boat, aside from the boatman and the master-servant duo, there were 3 women dressed in elegant garments. One of them played the zither while the other 2 sang and danced, adding to the boat's beauty as it sailed down the river, passing over stone bridges with the willow catkins as their companions. Defu, bring more wine. Wang Lin turned with a smile toward the middle-aged steward behind him. Defu, with a bitter expression, sighed deeply, then reluctantly picked up a jug of wine from the side and handed it to Wang Lin, his voice tinged with a hint of complaint. Master, we really don't have much silver left. We've spent so much on this boat and the wine, and with these 3 young women accompanying us, our daily expenses are just too high. How about we get off the boat? We could find a cheap inn and save a little. Why the rush? The person I'm waiting for hasn't come yet. Wang Lin shook his head and smiled, taking the jug and drinking another mouthful. He sat back down, listening to the melodic zither music played by one of the women. The music was light and joyful, but to Wang Lin, it just felt like something was missing. Master, I've taken out all the silver I had hidden away, but damn it, I've calculated it. If we keep spending like this, in 7 days, we'll be begging for food. It's been over a month already. Over a month. Who exactly are you waiting for? And why haven't they come? Defu, heartbroken, continued to complain as he stood beside Wang Lin. Perhaps Defu's frustration was amusing, for one of the women, who had been resting after dancing, covered her mouth and giggled. Defu shot her a glare, muttering something under his breath before grabbing another jug of wine and gulping down several mouthfuls. I need to drink more. This is good wine. Each sip is half a coin. The zither music is still wrong. Wang Lin, leaning against the boat's edge, shook his head lightly. After a while, having had a bit too much to drink, he got up and walked over to the zither player. He placed his right hand on the instrument, and the woman blushed, hurriedly pulling her hands away. I remember a song, one that I don't know the name of, but I've heard it in my dreams. She should have played it like this, Wang Lin whispered, closing his eyes and slowly beginning to play the zither. At first, the notes were stiff, the sound disjointed, not yet forming a melody. But gradually, as Wang Lin's focus deepened, the music began to flow more smoothly. A sorrowful tune, unlike anything before, seemed to drift through the boat, spreading in all directions. The two women who had been resting on the boat looked at Wang Lin with confused eyes. The sorrow in the music was faint but powerful enough to touch the soul, making anyone who heard it feel a tremor deep within. At some point, Wang Lin found himself sitting at the place where the zither had been played. The woman who had been playing earlier stood beside him, her beautiful eyes gleaming with an indescribable expression, as though she had lost herself in the melancholic, sigh-like tones of the zither. Even Defu was momentarily stunned before sitting down and sipping his drink, forgetting the pain in his heart, staring blankly at his right wrist, lost in thought. The music from the zither was the same piece Li Muin had once played, a different tune, yet carrying the same ethereal, soulful melody. It had once echoed from the hands of a blind woman in the spirit land. At this moment, tears slowly began to trickle down Wang Lin's closed eyes. The droplets fell onto the zither strings, blending with the music, dispersing like mist. His dreams visited him every night. In those dreams, he saw many things, though not all the figures were clear. Some people appeared blurred, their images always out of focus. But despite the haziness, the sorrow they invoked was profound, deep beyond measure. Under the sound of the zither, the painted boat drifted down the river, passing through stone bridges, until dusk fell and the night arrived. Wang Lin waited for more than a month, but the person who was supposed to appear in his dreams never showed up. As the boat passed under a stone bridge, two elderly figures appeared on the bridge, silently watching the boat float by, the sorrowful music lingering in the air. Both were elderly men with white hair. One wore a green robe, standing straight like a pine tree. Though he stood calmly, his posture radiated strength. His face showed signs of age, his eyes gleaming with wisdom. As he stood there, the air around him seemed to carry the aura of a great scholar. He was Su Dao. Such a sorrowful tune, a melody that no ordinary person can play in their lifetime. Yet, within this sadness, there is an eternal sense of time passing, as if, after countless years, one looks back at a sorrowful memory that lingers in the heart. Su-san, I did not come in vain, Su Dao remarked with a sense of nostalgia, gazing at the boat drifting away, where Wang Lin played the zither. Behind Su Dao, the second elder also sighed. If Wang Lin were to see him, he would instantly recognize him as the official who had observed his exam papers, standing silently until the very end. I never expected he could play the zither, but when I saw his exam paper, I felt this young man was extraordinary. And when I visited him the other day, I saw him on the boat, which led me to bring Master here to meet him. The second elder said respectfully, bowing slightly. The boat grew more distant, and the music slowly faded. At that moment, Su Dao, the elder in green, smiled faintly, stepped forward, and leaned on the bridge railing, calling out to the boat below. Young man, tell me, what do you think cause and effect is? Wang Lin's hands froze, and the music ceased. He opened his eyes, confused, and looked back at the elder in green on the bridge. From his position, he could only see the elder, unable to spot the second figure standing on the other side of the bridge. The night was deepening, with a full moon hanging in the sky. In the moonlight, the figure of the elder seemed somewhat blurry, and even the bridge around them appeared veiled in mist. Cause and effect. Wang Lin's gaze blurred as well. He stared at the elder, the bridge, and the surrounding mist, murmuring to himself. It shouldn't be like this. If time were reversing, if this were a cycle, if all of this were a dream, then I should meet the version of myself from that dream. But why? Instead, do I encounter this old man? Why is this happening? Wang Lin had waited more than a month. What he was waiting for was the scene he had seen in a dream, a scene that had left him in a daze for an entire day, drinking away his confusion. In that dream, He saw another version of himself on the Sioux City River, on the stone bridge. But now, he had not met that dream version of himself. Instead, he met this old man. This doesn't make sense. I know about the soul-refining sect, and I can vaguely guess who will appear from it after hundreds of years. I know that in my dream, that was me. But why, in this moment, do I not see him? Wang Lin's eyes were filled with deep confusion. He couldn't understand, and even his sense of self seemed to be growing more and more blurred. As his confusion deepened, the boat drifted farther away. Seeing that Wang Lin hadn't answered, the elder in green smiled and called out again. Young man, tell me, what do you think cause and effect is? Cause and effect. I am the cause, I am the effect. Wang Lin's voice came slowly, fading with the boat as it grew more distant. The elder in green, Su Dao, smiled as he watched the boat disappear from sight. He turned back to look at his student behind him. What is his name? Give me his test paper. The elder in the green robe, Su Dao, spoke, his eyes gleaming with joy. Su-san, seeing the words, smiled and took the test paper out from his sleeve. His purpose for visiting the teacher was to have him look at this extraordinary test paper. However, after arriving here, Su Dao had not glanced at it until today. Holding Wang Lin's test paper, Su Dao examined it carefully, nodding his head in approval. This young man is the last disciple I've taken in. With a smile, Su Dao looked once more at the retreating figure of the painted boat. A swirl of willow catkins danced in the moonlight, seemingly suspended forever between his gaze and that of the boat, indistinguishable whether Su Dao was looking at the catkins or the boat. With a sigh, he turned and left. Time flowed like a shuttle, and when one sought to trace it, no trace remained. A few days later, Wang Lin left the painted boat with De Fu. Standing on the riverbank, he gazed at the boat he had called home for over a month. Staring at the river he had waited for more than a month. He stood in silence for a long time. Half an hour later, Wang Lin sighed, about to turn and leave. At that moment, a faint cry echoed from the sky. Wang Lin's body shook. He looked up sharply toward the sky. There, he saw the familiar white bird circling in the air. Gradually, the bird descended and perched on a distant stone bridge. After a brief exchange of glances with Wang Lin, it soared back up into the clouds, its white form like willow catkins drifting in the wind. Is it you? Wang Lin murmured. Wang Lin did not attend the imperial examination. On the very day he left the painted boat, he was invited to the home of Su Dao, the great scholar of Sioux City. It was the elderly magistrate from the county who had brought him there. Su Dao's residence was not large, but it was elegant and tranquil, exuding a peaceful aura that calmed the mind. In the courtyard, Wang Lin encountered the old man who had once questioned him by the bridge. De Fu was left outside the courtyard. Wang Lin and Su Dao sat in a pavilion inside the courtyard, drinking osmanthus wine, conversing slowly in the serenity of the surroundings. Until the moon rose high, Wang Lin bowed to Su Dao. I have many disciples in my life, but only 3 are true disciples. From now on, you will be my last disciple. I do not wish for you to follow the path of the imperial examination, for your nature is not suited for it. I wish for you to become, after my passing, the great scholar of Zhao Kingdom. Not just in Zhao, but across Vermilion Bird Star, in the many nations, I hope you will become a great scholar of Vermilion Bird Star. This life, though not one of wealth and power, will allow you to understand the principles of the world, to have your own thoughts. In this world, we are mere mortals. Some practice immortal cultivation, and I have had several such cultivators visit me, inviting me into their path, but I rejected them all. Su Dao smiled and gazed at the heavens. His mind held its own world, not seeking the Dao, but contemplating the principles of heaven and earth. He understood the way of the world. Though his body was frail, his thoughts could endure for centuries, breaking through the shackles of the world. Even immortals, who could obliterate us with a flick of their fingers, would bow their heads before a great scholar of the mortal world. Immortal cultivation may defy the heavens, but as Confucians, when we understand the way of heaven and earth, are we not also defying the heavens and walking upon the earth? If heaven has a spirit, in its eyes, those cultivators are no different from us. They are mortal, just like us. The only difference is that they have the power to shake the mountains and seas, while we possess the wisdom of understanding the principles of heaven and earth. In the end, there is a common ground. In my life, many of my disciples were cultivators. They came to seek understanding of the conceptual realm, hoping to reach the state of thought transmutation. Some even asked what the Tao truly was. This life, though ordinary, is not without significance. Wang Lin, do you wish to choose this path? At this moment, Su Dao, despite being an elderly man under the moonlight, exuded a profound and unspoken aura. This aura was one of defiance toward heaven and earth, a mind awakened to the principles of the world. It was this thought that had elevated Su Dao to the peak. His thoughts, like a flame, burned within him, capable of shaking the world. Confucian, great scholar, and ultimately, sage teacher. Su Dao said, his hands clasped behind his back, his gaze fixed on Wang Lin. Wang Lin remained silent for a long time, before bowing once more to Su Dao. This time, Wang Lin was 19 years old, and Su Dao had reached the venerable age of 83. Su Dao laughed heartily, taking Wang Lin's hand and helping him to rise. In the pavilion, his voice echoed in all directions. As a young man, I entered government service. In my middle age, I resigned and returned to my homeland, traveling throughout Zhao Kingdom and many nations of this continent, seeing the mountains, waters, and the various lives of men. At 50, when my wife passed away, I found enlightenment in her grave, reflecting on life. I often recall the scenes from when we first met. Since then, my thoughts have centered on karma. What is karma, and why is there a karmic cycle in this world? A night passed, and Wang Lin's life changed in that very night. He no longer harbored the desire to take the imperial examination and intergovernment service. Instead, in silence, he quietly sought the life he truly wanted. What he desired, aside from being filial to his parents, was to understand the world and follow the voice that echoed in his mind. What is karma? What is life and death? What is truth and illusion? He and Defu resided in Su Dao's mansion, listening to his teachings every day. Gradually, the aura of a great scholar began to grow more and more evident in Wang Lin. That year's imperial examination saw dozens of students become Suju, eventually making their way into the capital. Some soared to great heights, while others returned to their hometowns in disappointment. Wang Lin watched it all, but his heart remained untouched. Although he did not enter government service, Wang Lin's fame spread throughout the Zhao Kingdom, surpassing even those who had risen swiftly through the ranks of Suju. As Su Dao's disciple, Wang Lin had not left Su City in all these years. Yet, whenever someone came to visit Su Dao, it was often Wang Lin who represented his master. Common scholars, wealthy nobles, even cultivators. Over these years, Wang Lin had met countless people. He grew calmer, more joyful, and freer. In the blink of an eye, seasons changed. In the year when the willow catkins filled the air and the city, Wang Lin was approaching middle age. He stood in the courtyard where Su Dao had accepted him as a disciple 10 years ago, letting the willow catkins fall and cover the stone path. Su Dao's body had grown frilier with age. Time had taken much from him, but it had also left much. Now, he could no longer drink and converse with Wang Lin as they had 10 years ago. He sat in a wooden chair, pushed by 2 servants, and, amidst the drifting willow catkins, he and Wang Lin watched together. Wang Lin's expression was calm. After dismissing the 2 servants, he pushed Su Dao's chair. "Xun'er." Su Dao's voice was hoarse, but his spirit remained strong. He raised his right hand, catching a willow catkin that floated down, stilling it in his palm. "Look at the willow catkins. They appear every year, and even when I'm gone, they will always return, as if they had an eternal promise with the heavens and earth." "This willow catkin is like life," Wang Lin said softly. "Life is also like a ball of karma. It floats before you, and you raise your hand to grasp it, but in the end, it slips away, unless it grows tired and falls into your hand." Su Dao gazed at the catkin in his palm and spoke slowly. Perhaps his voice carried a gentle breeze, for the catkin in his hand once again lifted into the air and drifted farther away. "Karma. Karma. Wang Lin, if one day, within the vast sea of these floating catkins, you find the one that belongs to you, then you will truly understand what karma is," Su Dao smiled, pointing toward the sky with his right hand. That catkin is my life. Wang Lin looked up, following Su Dao's finger toward the sky. But the air was filled with so many willow catkins, like snowflakes, that he could not tell which one Su Dao was pointing to. You cannot see it because that catkin is my life. Su Dao closed his eyes, tears slowly trailing down his face. Those are two catkins, blown together by the wind. They represent my life with her. In Su Dao's mind, the sky full of catkins faded, leaving only those two clinging to each other, swaying in the wind, flying farther and farther. That year, when the catkins flew, I saw you. I stood on the bridge, watching you look lost. I thought to myself, you, Wang Lin, are like a rootless willow catkin, helpless and confused, as if something troubled your mind that you couldn't figure out. I watched you, and I watched the catkins drifting past you. One of them was your life, swirling in front of you. But you couldn't see it, so it came to me. I gazed at the catkin, but you must have thought I was looking at you. The question I asked was about the catkin, but you must have thought I was asking about you. At that moment, I decided I would help you, Su Dao said, turning his head with a kind, elderly smile, gazing at Wang Lin. Wang Lin shuddered. You are the last piece of karma in my life. I always feel like I've seen you somewhere before. Su Dao turned his gaze to the sky. Year after year, when this season comes, people see the willow catkins fill the city. But they don't understand, they don't know, that each of these catkins arrives in search of the person they are connected to, because each of them represents a person's life. But in the end, they fall on the water, fall on the dust, and vanish from our sight. It's not that they haven't found their match. It's that we can't find the one that's meant for us. Wang Lin silently raised his head, watching the catkins float in the air, just as they had 10 years ago. Gradually, he seemed to see a cluster of tangled willow catkins, two of them, clinging tightly together as if sharing breath and life. They drifted in silence amidst the endless sea of willow fluff, inseparable no matter how fierce the wind blew. Faintly, a zither melody drifted to his ears, source unknown. The music carried a deep sense of loss, as though a woman, caught in lonely waiting, had only the sound of her zither for company. In the blink of an eye, another 10 years had passed. Su Dao passed away 3 years ago. It was during the winter of that year. He had struggled, hoping to make it through the season, to survive just a few more months, just long enough to see the willow catkins of spring one last time. But though his mind could comprehend the heavens and the earth, his body could not escape the cycle of life and death. That winter was bitter and thick with snow. A thin sheet of ice had formed over the rivers of Sioux City. As snowflakes fell from the sky, he watched them as if gazing upon eternity. Wang Lin, now nearly 40, pushed Su Dao's wooden chair through the streets of Sioux City. Clad in a white robe, he walked in silence, his demeanor calm and weathered by time. That winter was especially cold. Snowflakes, swept along by the biting wind, settled on their shoulders. In the early morning, the distant bell of Su Mountain Temple rang slow and deep. Beneath that sonorous toll, the soul felt cleansed. Xun'er, your teacher is leaving soon. In my life, I've had no children. Your 3 senior brothers inherited many of my teachings, but only you truly shared my thoughts. I know you've begun to grasp the meaning of karma. It's still vague, but one day, you'll understand. And what you seek, it's more than just karma. This residence, I leave it to you. Su Dao's voice was weak, carried by the wind into Wang Lin's ears. Wang Lin said nothing, but sorrow filled his eyes. Su Dao had been with him for 17 years. In those 17 years, Wang Lin had grown from a youth of 18 or 19 into a man in his middle years. At Su Dao's side, he had learned much, understood much, and matured deeply. The snow was heavy, veiling everything ahead, the heavens and earth, Sioux City, and the street they walked upon. It covered everything. The soft creaking of the wooden chair wheels barely broke the silence. Only the twin tracks they left behind marked their path, like a life's journey. Looking back, the starting point was clear. But until the eyes close for the final time, the end remains unseen. Snowflakes fell and slowly buried those tracks. Even the beginning disappeared. Take me to Su Mountain beyond the city. Su Dao's voice was older, fainter still. But his eyes were bright as he gazed toward the heavens, as if he saw his final destination. Wang Lin nodded silently. He pushed the wooden chair forward, its creaking lost beneath the wind. Step by step, he walked towards Su Dao's end. The snow grew heavier. Wind lashed his face, snow landing on his hair and melting into a cold that pierced the heart. Wang Lin pushed the chair past the ancient street, beyond the city of Su, and in the distance, he saw a small hill outside the city walls. It wasn't tall, but it held spirit. That spirit could not be seen. But closing one's eyes, the image of every blade of grass and tree on the mountain would rise in the mind. One could feel the mountain breathe through the winter air. And that was enough. When they reached the summit, following the path paved in blue stone, Su Dao's eyes slowly closed. He could barely hold on. But in the slight parting of his lids, the same brightness as 17 years ago could still be seen. The eyes are the windows to the soul. Su Dao's body would decay, but his thoughts, his path through life, once shaped, would never vanish. Carry me there. His voice had almost faded. Wang Lin stepped forward, lifted Su Dao onto his back, and followed the direction he pointed, off the stone path and into a snow-covered part of the mountain where no one else would go. Step by step, they walked. At the end of that trail stood a lone grave. It had been there for decades, waiting for this day. Before that grave, Su Dao sat. He looked at the headstone. No tears came to his eyes, only a gentle softness. I'm here. You once said you wanted to always watch over me. So I buried you here, where you could forever look down upon the house, and me within it. He murmured as he touched the gravestone. His aged face pressed softly against its surface, forgetting the cold of the stone, or perhaps, to him, that cold had become warmth. Slowly, he closed his eyes. A faint, peaceful smile settled on his face. And then, he breathed no more. Su Dao returned to the abyss of oblivion. Wang Lin stood there for a long, long time. At last, he turned around and looked down the mountain. From that vantage point, he could see all of Su City, and within it, Su Dao's residence. A deep sense of melancholy spread within Wang Lin's heart. He was confused, always pondering what kind of existence this world truly was. Was it his past life, his reincarnation, or just a dream? Yet no matter which one it was, none could explain everything clearly. It felt as though between truth and illusion, there was an eternal, unbroken circle that defied understanding, making it impossible to discern the beginning from the end. In the half-month after the 17th year, another grave appeared next to the lone tomb on Su Mountain. They were no longer alone. 3 years after Su Dao's death, Wang Lin was 39 years old. His parents, who had been brought from the mountain village years ago, had grown accustomed to the simplicity of village life. They struggled to adapt to the bustling Su City. After a few months, they returned to their hometown and resumed their quiet, ordinary life. During the winter of Wang Lin's 39th year, he stood in his courtyard, watching the drifting snowflakes, when he received an imperial decree from the Emperor of Zhao. This was the 5th imperial decree in the 3 years since Su Dao's death. Though the content of the 5 decrees was similar, each was more eloquent than the last, urging Wang Lin to travel to the capital and become the imperial master. In the span of 20 years, Wang Lin's name had risen among the scholars of Zhao. Despite never leaving Su City, scholars coming to take the imperial exams would visit him every year, seeking his teachings. All of this was tied to Su Dao, but it was also deeply connected to Wang Lin himself. Over these 2 decades, many officials and scholars had been moved by his words during their visits. It was well known that Wang Lin inherited the great Confucian tradition of Su Dao, especially after Su Dao's passing, which further solidified his position in people's hearts. However, things were not absolute. A considerable number of people still did not acknowledge Wang Lin. They believed that he was not worthy of being called a great scholar, with the Emperor of Zhao being the most vocal critic. Before Su Dao's death, such voices were scattered, but in the 3 years after, they grew louder and more frequent. Eventually, during these 3 silent years of Wang Lin, a wave of doubt spread throughout Zhao. Wang Lin paid no attention to it. He continued to live peacefully, accompanied by Defu. His silence only emboldened the critics, who acknowledged that Wang Lin was Su Dao's disciple but accused him of seeking fame and glory, claiming he was unworthy of the title Confucian scholar. Driven by those with ill intent, this situation gradually escalated. Soon, The entire Zhao kingdom was filled with such voices. Despite this, Wang Lin remained indifferent. He watched the sun rise and set, the seasons change, contemplating the world, understanding cause and effect, seeking signs of life, death, truth, and illusion, searching for the origin and end of everything. Although he himself was confused, he continued to experience life. He refused to concern himself with the chaotic matters of the world, and he was unwilling to prove anything. To him, such matters were meaningless, like children arguing or spreading rumors. Yet, the more silent he was, the louder the voices became. What was even more damaging were Su Dao's remaining 3 disciples. Aside from Su San, who was old and ailing, the other 2 disciples stepped forward to challenge Wang Lin. As a result, the scholars of Zhao were in disarray, and even common folk were swept up in the storm. The turmoil spread throughout Zhao Kingdom. Someone even found Wang Lin's exam papers from 20 years ago, criticizing him as nothing more than a mere scholar, accusing him of arrogance and disrespect. Amidst this chaotic uproar, the imperial decrees from the capital arrived once again, the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, like falling snowflakes, each targeting Wang Lin. The situation became even more unbearable as it began affecting Wang Lin's parents. They had grown old and should have been living out their peaceful years, respected by all. But now, with the incessant rumors, even the villagers from the mountain knew of the situation. The gossip spread, and the villagers' whispers caused Wang Lin's parents great distress. The elderly couple, already frail, were now overcome with anger. Wang Lin's father fell ill as a result of the stress. In that winter, Wang Lin stood in his courtyard, holding a letter from home. The letter had been written by his mother, with his uncle sending it through a messenger. The letter reassured Wang Lin that his father was not in immediate danger. As he read the letter over and over again, a flicker of anger slowly appeared in Wang Lin's calm eyes. "Some things have gone too far," Wang Lin muttered, folding the letter and tucking it into his chest. He gazed at the falling snowflakes and spoke slowly. He had never intended to prove anything. No matter how loud the voices from Zhao Kingdom became, they would not disturb his peace. The title of Confucian scholar was a hollow name, and he did not care about it. Like an elder, he simply wanted to slowly experience the world. But everything has its limit, and Wang Lin's bottom line was his parents. The anger of his parents, their pain, and their sorrow. These were Wang Lin's anger, Wang Lin's pain, Wang Lin's sorrow. "Defu, make the arrangements. I will teach for 10 years. From today onwards, for the next 10 years, anyone who wishes to come to Sioux City and debate with me on academic matters is welcome. But if anyone dares to claim they have surpassed me, let them take this residence from my hands." Wang Lin flicked his sleeve and turned to leave. Behind him, the now elderly Defu still wore the same excited expression he had worn 20 years ago. Over the past 3 years, he had also been angered. The people who had once treated him with utmost respect had gradually distanced themselves, even using harsh words. Upon hearing Wang Lin's words today, Defu's face lit up with a mix of pride and anticipation. He hurried to make the necessary arrangements. My young master is still as bold as ever. 10 years of teaching. I can't wait to see the expressions of those who once caused a ruckus after their repeated failures.